let's try that again, guys. I completely ballsed it up like 2 minutes into the video and I didn't even really have the sound on. But hey, that's the nature when you're living hard and fast like us in the property industry. Right. As always, I'll be sharing this to my personal page and to a group. And we'll get started as per normal. Right. Let's begin then. Hello and welcome to your Wednesday dose of wealth wisdom with me, Daniel Kennedy, Wealth Dragon Coach and KML Group CEO. Today's topic is, as a property coach, why I think property courses are a complete and total waste of time. So why would I say something like that? So for me, I've been on a number of courses, and the only one that I've ever implemented stuff in my property business after I'd taken the course. So I've been on multiple courses and I didn't implement anything apart from one. And that was when I joined the mastermind or the apprenticeship. Property courses on their own are so sort of like loaded with information and loaded with different techniques. It's very, very difficult to walk away from a weekend that's completely jam-packed full of different strategies and different ways of buying property or whatever the case may be. It is very, very, very unlikely, in my experience, that people will implement stuff if they haven't got accountability. I've yet to come across anybody who's done the weekend on any of the courses and without being part of some mastermind group, some accountability group to hold them to task about, you need to do this, you need to do that, because there'll be, when you go and actually implement some of the stuff, be it marketing offline, you're going to have lots of questions. If you have no one to ask them to and no one to bounce feedback from, the results are diminished. And for me personally, being part of an apprenticeship is what helped me, because even though I went on a fantastic course, I was still the same person on the Friday as the Sunday. And that person was somebody who didn't really implement stuff, didn't do what they were going to say they were going to do, liked the idea of property, but then didn't really have a full grasp, because you only tend to learn things and things only go in your head once you've actually done it yourself. So if you've implemented it through a deal with a coach or a mentor helping you along the way, for me, that's what I required. And I borrowed lots of the first coach that I had at her time. I borrowed buckets and buckets and buckets of it. And then with each deal that I did subsequently after that, it was a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less. And eventually I was able to stand on my own 2 feet. If I was to do this alone, without somebody to ask, without somebody to help me and show me where I was going wrong, it would have taken me a lot longer. And I wouldn't have been as far along in my journey as I am now, because I've done probably 4 or 5 courses, and I haven't implemented a thing from any of them apart from the one where I joined the inner circle, which is the Wealth Dragons. And like simple things that you need to bounce ideas off. It's really, really important. And if you're struggling, seeing people around you also struggling is really reassuring to know that you're not the only one, and there's not something wrong with you. Like finding it difficult to speak to sellers, or really, really nervous to speak to people who you hadn't previously had any relationship, like cold calling or cold approach. It's terrifying if you haven't done it before. Like, I remember the first couple of times that I did it, I was like weak at the knees, and all I wanted to do was help somebody sell their property. I was offering them a service, but because I didn't really believe in it, I needed constant reassurance, the people telling me, yeah, this is the right thing to do. You're doing the right thing. But then I'd go and speak to sellers, knock on the door, and I'd be like, hello, would you like to sell your property? And it would come through in the way that I would talk, the way that I would hold myself. And having somebody to maybe say, listen, how are you finding speaking to sellers over the phone? And then them go, oh my God, it's horrendous. I'm so nervous. It's like a massive weight that was lifted off my shoulders when I first did it. And although I consider myself a pretty damn good seller now, initially it was a complete debacle. I was awful at it. But through coaching and through speaking to other people who are also having the same struggles and having the course material to constantly refer back to, and surrounding yourself with people who are going through the same journey, like that's the key thing. The courses are normally, I'm not saying the courses are crap, but they're a waste of time because you won't implement them, I think. It's the aftercare and the after the course when you're not as excited and the flame is dying down and you'll still go back to your normal life and your normal family and your normal friendship group, who are not maybe wanting to commit the time or the resources to trying to better yourself. It's 10 times harder to implement any changes when you don't have people saying, hey, listen, this is the wrong thing to do. And that's why I think courses alone are a complete waste of money, time. Unless you're flirting with a strategy and you want a bit more and you decide it's not for you, then that's probably a good use of your time for that course. But alone, say for instance, lease options, you do a course on lease options and there's no aftercare and you don't get to chat to other people who are also doing lease options, and be able to see concrete evidence of it actually working. So maybe when you're not getting the results and you're not getting the deals that you think you should be, but you can see somebody else in a different part of the country, perhaps within your circle, within your group, getting lease options, it gives you the sort of like, yeah, it is possible. I know I'm not receiving any results directly myself, but I can see that person getting lots of results. So if I just copy that person and I just keep at it, and it, like, other people's success motivates you. And like doing it alone in property is never advisable in my case because it gets so goddamn lonely, so boring and lonely. And if you don't enjoy it, you won't stick at it, because although from the outside it looks really, really good and really glamorous to be like, yeah, I'm a landlord or I'm a landlady, I've got plenty of property. It's an incredibly, incredibly time-intensive lifestyle, especially when you're growing and maybe you're leveraging off people's money. You're having to be really, really open on social media about what you're trying to achieve because you want to raise finance, you want to sell deals, maybe you have multiple businesses. And the growing phase of a property business is horrendous. It's so, so busy. Because you're wanting to cut down on costs to pay your investors back sooner so you get a return. So maybe you're doing all the like repairs, the repaints, and whatever the case may be. And that's why if you're not prepared to join an inner circle or to join the next level up, it doesn't have to be the one that I work. I'm completely, totally, utterly committed to the Wealth Dragons because of what I've got here, because of them and the support, especially like Florence. Good Lord, I would not be where I am without that lady. And I can't sing her praises enough because she's so patient and diligent, and like always on the phone, always. In the beginning, it was ruthless. I was taxed so much of her time. And I see the new students now doing very similar things. And obviously, as we do more and more deals, we get more experience. We then no longer need to be this complete drain on resources of the circle. And then hopefully we can add to it. And that's where it's getting to the stage at now for majority of the people in the circle. They add, we share ideas, and we keep it exciting. Like we meet up every quarter and have webinars every month. And stuff like that. No one's going to be interested in your property journey. Like, not you, not your friends, not your mom, literally no one. I know a lot of the big players say, a lot of you have asked me. No one's asked you. I know for a fact no one's asked you. It just seems to be the case that people won't admit. No one asked me to do this topic. I could lie and say, a lot of you have been asking me what I think of courses. No one asks me anything. A lot of people just expect like coaching on deals for free. But I put this out there anyway, because in the circle, everyone's really supportive of each other. And there's plenty of topics that we all want to discuss and maybe not necessarily have the confidence to say, listen, I want you to talk about this. Excuse me. And so for me, I just assume that people want to hear it. And then hopefully they'll do videos and I'll learn from them. And none of this would have happened if I'd just joined the course, because I've got like a Facebook group. It's not mine. It was set up by somebody who did just the weekend course instead of the inner circle, and it's completely inactive. 99% of the people there are not involved in property anymore. And there's only 2 of us that are within my first weekend cadre. And that really sort of lays down the evidence for me that they're a waste of time. You're not going to implement stuff unless you've got somebody pushing you, maybe reminding you, maybe being patient with you because you've got personal stuff going on, and then they can reel you back in to maybe start the property journey again. Because as well, what I've seen in the circle, those of you who know me personally, you know that I've got many lines in the sand. I wouldn't do something if I didn't believe that it was good, and I wouldn't recommend somebody if I didn't believe they were great. I call a lot of people out on their crap, just because you can do it honestly. You may not make as much, but if you do it honestly, you'll be able to go forever. I'm a really, really key believer of that, because karma will get you in some way, shape, or form if you screw people over. It just will. Whether you think it will or whether you don't think it will, trust me, it will. And this inner circle, the Wealth Dragons, is there are people that 3, 4, 5 years ago that haven't been active at all, but are still in the group, and they pop up and then they say, listen, I want to kickstart it again, and they're welcomed immediately back in, because the staff at the Wealth Dragons HQ see the value of having people involved and people being active, and that's why I can't recommend it enough. If you're wanting to get involved in property, I wouldn't recommend doing the weekend unless you're committed to doing the whole apprenticeship and getting the lifetime sort of the product that they sell. Because although some people out there sell year courses, it's going to take longer than a year. It sort of only gets really, really, really great, especially if you're starting from nothing. If you've got cash already, then potentially you could do a lot in a year. But I'm going to be realistic. No doubt you've seen other companies and you've seen other training providers say that it can happen in a year. You can be financially free in a year. You can be a millionaire in a year. You can't. It takes a long, long time to build credibility and to build the experience if you've come from nothing. If you're not involved in property in any way, shape, or form, taking on a huge development for your first deal is completely stupid strategy, because you're going to open yourself up to being really, really done over by somebody potentially. And there are a lot of people who will do really uncallous things for money. And it's always better to do something small on a smaller scale. Buy the 40k property and put in a new kitchen, then sell that, make a bit of profit, then perhaps keep it, refinance, then maybe buy the £80,000 property where it needs a full refurb, so then you go into that, and then maybe buy the house that you can turn into 2 flats. Like, you don't want to just jump straight into a £500,000 GDV deal. It's just really, really dangerous to do that, because you will make mistakes. Even if you're in a circle and you've done the courses and you've read all the courses, you'll make mistakes, because the chances are you're not as good as negotiating that you think you are. Oh my God, that wasn't even English. You're not as good at negotiating as you think you are. Excuse me, I'm going to take a water. And we all need constant improvement. You may have a flippant comment, and you may offend like the architect, you may offend the building regs. This has happened to me in multiple occasions, and I've had to reel myself in, apologize, adjust, to test and move forward. And it would have been very difficult to do that if, like, for instance, if we jump straight into the deals that we're doing now, which are like GDV of 750,000 up to $1 million, those numbers alone would petrify me, and they would probably make me freeze in terror, because those figures are absolutely alarming. But because I've gone from buying houses at £12,000, then refurbing them with a coach helping me, really, really sort of like guiding me, telling me where I'm going wrong, what I need to do better, and then selling those deals, making a little bit of money, maybe refinancing them, keeping them in my own portfolio, and then slowly doing more expensive deals, and then coming down to Birmingham and then going a little bit more expensive. And then every deal that I've done it's always been a little bit bigger. I haven't just jumped straight into these huge deals, because I'm very, very cautious, and you don't want to overextend yourself, because one deal, it can go pop and you can lose it all and you have to start again. So this is why I don't think you should start a property journey without, if you're completely new, on just a course alone. You need to join the inner circles. You need to join the mentoring groups. And maybe I'm proving wrong. There's always going to be 1 or 2 of you that implement exactly
what you learn on the courses, and the chances are you're already experienced, so you can just sort of like slot it in with your existing business. But the vast majority will do a course and you won't do anything. You'll just pat yourself on the back at the end of the weekend, be like, yeah, I've done well, I've done a course, go me, and then not implement a damn thing. So I've done 3 property courses and I haven't implemented anything from 2, but I've implemented a lot from 1. And that was only because of the upsell. I joined and then they helped me out. I'd really like to know your opinions of it. Have you done anything from any course that you've signed up to, be it free, be it paid, where you didn't have accountability and a mentorship group after? For me, I haven't. And that's the end of the topic. Thank you for joining me. If you want to hear the previous episodes, click any of the links. And also, I've started a construction company now, so I'll be giving you updates about project managing and my journey there, as well as also talking about my day-to-day adventures on my personal page. So I hope to see you there soon. Enjoy.